Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Sí, señor.
It is CU Spotlight. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor, JT, with Bank Social QSO, and with me,
Es Senora Sin.
Hola, hola,
Hola.
Cian.
No, Shirley Sin from New Orleans Firemen's Federal Credit Union.
Hey, Shirley, thanks for being with us. We're at the Bits and Bytes at GAC, at the Cuba Libre, GAC 2026, and some of the other sponsors here, Capstone Strategic, Pure IT, NCUI South, Defense Storm, and Connective, and of course, Bank Social. And with us here is, I know you're not supposed to play favorites, but it is one of my favorite newer QSOs, I would say. We've got Nick Olexa. Well, it says Monroe Community Credit Union, but we all know why you have that. It's Storyfi. Storyfi in the house, man. Good to see you.
Great to see you. Great to see both of you.
Absolutely. So, lot of exciting things. It's been really fun to hear your name and your company's name, repeatedly over and over again recently, doing this, doing that. Congratulations. For the listeners, real quick, talk about what is Storyfi? What are you guys doing with the QSO?
So Storyfi, we were born 3 years ago. We were born out of the Michigan Credit Union League family of companies.
Love it.
And we were originally created to help support the media initiatives of that family of organizations. But over time, Michigan Credit Union started coming to the league saying, hey, we know you have video services. Can we utilize them? Can we tap into them? And ultimately, a business was born out of that. And in 2023, we actually had the opportunity to spin out into our own QSO. We are owned by 6 credit unions.
Love it.
So the gist of Storyfi is we do film, video, and media production for credit unions, QSOs, and system providers.
Love that. And how did you get involved? How did you fall backwards into the movement? Because that's usually how it happens for all of us.
Yeah, so it goes way back. My mom is a now retired public school teacher. She worked for Detroit Public Schools.
God bless her.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your service, Mom.
And she was the original impetus. She had a credit union account. And we would go there on occasion to move money around, and it was not a great branch. It was a shared, one of the cooperative branches that was a service center for many credit unions. And it was on the far reaches of an area that we didn't normally travel to. So, my entry into credit unions was like, again, it was kind of a weird bank, right? It was like, why are we going to this weird bank and, this place? Another aspect was like, why do we also go to this place for theme park tickets, discounted theme park tickets? So, it was unusual, to say the least. So I always had that from an early age, just going with her, and then, getting access to her funds. Later in life, I coming out of college, not quite out of college, I had an interim role somewhere else, but I landed with a subsidiary of the Michigan Credit Union League called CU Village.
Sure.
Yeah, and they primarily do and did website development for credit unions, and now they have evolved into CU Solutions Group.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's cool. What a great story. What a great story. So you've been in the movement now for
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
Jeez, you blink your eyes. How's that feel to say?
Oh, yeah. Well, walking the floor here at GAC, there was a time when I was the young one, and I've had the self-realization I'm no longer the young one.
Correct. Correct.
He's making me feel really
Yeah. What do you got, Shirley?
Yeah, going back to the GAC, and we think about Simpson coming in as the new president, he has really been pushing for credit unions to better tell their stories. And I think part of it is obviously we want our Congress and our Senate to know better what credit unions are doing for communities. But what advice could you give the credit union movement in terms of storytelling? Because we do a great job, I think, of doing some of the media and so forth. But sometimes it just stops right there, and we don't really get the full effect of the story out in the community and out into our legislatures.
I mean, the stories are effectively a core part of the mission, right? If we're not telling the stories that of the work we do every day, how we're helping better empower people's financial lives, then we're missing part of our mission. And that's what, that's my regular message to credit unions, that if that is not built into how you operate as a credit union, then you're probably missing the mark in some way. And, it's a popular refrain. We've heard storytelling, I think, the past 3-4 GACs. Everyone knows that it's something they need to be doing, but they don't necessarily have the strategy behind it, or, the realistic steps they can take to go down a path where it becomes part of their mission.
Well, and to take that a step further, I think part of it too is the psychology a little bit, because I feel like, and this is just, I've been doing this 20 years now in the Q, so almost 20 years. There's always been this kind of shoulder shrug of, well, that's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do. That's our job. And so it's almost like there's a psychological block, this humbleness that almost paralyzes some credit unions from leaning in and really telling the stories. It almost, it's like they think it's bragging, right? But my old CEO at the Maine Credit Union League Insurance Trust used to say, them who can brag without lying, let them brag. And he'd throw his Maine accent on. And I think that that's such an important snort too. I think that's such an important message. It's like, guys, you have to brag. Your survival depends on you getting comfortable with bragging a little bit, and not bragging like we're the best, but just tell those stories, because you can't keep them locked up for the special people in the credit union. You got to get them out there, because there's too many people in our world who don't know what the difference is.
I think historically, the culture of the credit union movement has been one of humility.
Sure.
Right?
Exactly. Perfectly stated.
Anything that, contradicts that, right, is something that goes against the mission. And in fact, it's quite the opposite.
Right.
If we aren't telling the story, if we aren't attracting the next generation of members, what are we doing here?
Right.
Because, our survival depends on replacing the population that is aging out of, their financial institution.
Sure. So combine that with a phrase that I've been hearing it so much, it's getting very, very tired, which is go to where they are. You hear that all the time, and you're like, well, what does that mean? And most people can't answer it. It's like, okay, well, where is the generation, the future generation right now, and where do we need to be from a marketing standpoint to actually go where they are? What would you say to that?
I mean, right now what we're seeing is that, the youngest generations, Gen Z and Gen Alpha behind it, it's all about authenticity, right? I mean, we need to be our authentic selves, right? And they can very easily see the marketing fluff, right? And they don't want that. They have, wholeheartedly rejected that.
Right.
So trying to reach them at that level has been difficult. Now,
Sure.
There's a bunch of strategies out there. There's a bunch of opinions out there on it. But ultimately, you have to showcase and truly live your authenticity. And that's one of the strongest qualities that carries through.
But in your opinion, where are the members for the future, the ones that we want to try to get? Where are their eyeballs right now? Where do we need to go so they can see these stories?
Well, I mean, kind of the thinking is that they're, in the social channels, but that's not entirely true anymore. One thing that we've been experimenting with is kind of the micro influencers. So right now we're knee deep in a campaign with micro influencers. These are people that are at a community level, and we aren't necessarily promoting credit unions. We're drawing out their alignment that they already have with credit unions. And I think this is yet to come to market, but this is something that people that are already in their communities are telling their own story in an authentic way, and it's going to reach their fellow peers, right? And that's something that I think we as an industry, we shy away from, right? Influencers of any type micro influencers on top of that. Would you really want to gamble on that? But at the end of the day, you know who these people are? They're members, right? They're you and I and our friends, and they're members, and they are there to tell their truth, their story. And if we can showcase it in a way that isn't exploitive, I think there's something there. And, that's just one strategy among many that you can pursue. But that's a form of storytelling that, you have to draw out.
Well, and that makes so much sense, I think, from the influencer market is here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and where does that live? Primarily TikTok.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the TikTok model is huge. What did I read 3 years ago? TikTok became the #1 search engine on the planet,
replacing Google as the favored
Google
search engine for
And that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That was not now. So this is the new king, everybody. So if you want to go to where they are, you have to go to TikTok.
Yeah.
You have to go to these latest social, and it's not about doing 30-second dances anymore. They are going, how do I balance my budget? How do I get a good credit score? How do I... And the other thing that I've learned from someone much younger than me, half of my age, is that it's all about setting it up right. Setting up what your game plan is so that you can set up the proper algorithm in order to attract those people. But that micro influencer thing that you're talking about, doing that is brilliant, and putting that on TikTok is a huge opportunity for credit unions. And we're seeing it with a lot of the more forward-thinking, more progressive credit unions. And they'll tell you it's incredible how many leads they're getting from TikTok. But there's a lot of fear about TikTok because of everything going on out there. But my challenge to everybody is, if you really truly want to go where they are, you got to go there. You got to go there. And not only there.
Exactly.
But specifically there.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we shouldn't be afraid to, look where we've come from, look where we've been, to have that be part of our story. But we also have to be forward facing, what's our next chapter? Right? How do we write that next chapter? And inviting in that next generation so that they can be a part of that. They can be collaborative in that next chapter.
Sure.
And that's, I think, holistic storytelling. Where we've been, where we're going, and you're part of it. Let's write that together.
I have a question. I don't know how far back you go. I know there's been several national campaigns to try to bring awareness, storytelling about the credit union movement, and I don't know that really any of them have been largely effective. What is advice you could give to credit unions that are looking at the national versus regional versus local, and what's the importance of each of those?
Yeah, no, great question. And full disclosure, I have been attached to the Michigan Cooperative Advertising Campaign for a long time, both in my old role at the Michigan Credit Union, and then now at Storyfi, managing that for them on their behalf. But what we've seen with cooperative advertising is that it's trying to solve all the issues of credit unions as kind of a one-size-fits-all solution. Right. And then, there's plenty of operators out there that produce very polished content, right? And when it was CUNA and they brought Open Your Eyes to market, and it became Your Money Further later, a very polished-looking campaign. But then as it's deployed, as that campaign is deployed, you start to have emerging conflicting priorities because that sort of messaging, it might resonate in one part of the country and not another, or a particular credit union might have messaging that doesn't fully align with the kind of the national awareness campaign. And then you get this great fracture. So what ultimately started as, great momentum, a lot of energy to start, you have people fraying from these initiatives that I still think are important to some degree, but you get mixed results. And in the mixed results, it just kind of fizzles out there in the end. Michigan, on the other hand, they've been running their campaign for 20 years in different iterations.
That's like the Love My Credit Union as an example.
Oh, no. It was originally called CU Link.
Okay.
And then now it's called Try a Credit Union, trycreditunion.com. And in tandem with that, they do consumer awareness studies to see if they are actually moving the needle. To see the actual perception of credit unions in the state of Michigan. Are people aware of them? Is the campaign, being effective? So they have data to back up the performance of the campaign, kind of twofold, if you will. But that works in Michigan. Well, we've seen a lot of states. I won't call them out. Some have seen great success. Others middling success, and others, it was a quickly abandoned initiative. And actually, this kind of segues into a product that we're working on at Storyfi. We're calling this new product, which is set to launch later this year, Co-Author. Co-Author is exactly what it sounds like. It is a crowdfunding media platform for credit unions.
Ooh.
So taking inspiration from cooperative advertising that has come before it, rather than have a one-size-fits-all solution that you want everyone to buy into and ultimately fund that media flight, we're thinking of combating the problems that credit unions face one bite-sized campaign at a time. So think of fraud awareness. Fraud is huge.
Yep.
Everyone's talking about fraud. Multiple programs pointed at combating fraud. Also, children's financial education utilizing puppets. There isn't really anything that really targets younger prospective members in a way that credit unions can honestly go out there and promote. And really, the sky's the limit. Right? Where can we ultimately take that product? And that's really born out of the cooperative movement, right? You can participate, you cannot participate. There will be different levels for credit unions of different sizes. But ultimately, what we aim to accomplish is to start combating all these things that really have been, a thorn in the side of credit unions, one campaign at a time. So rather than this grand, Super Bowl-esque campaign, we're getting into the minutia of what credit unions face every day.
Love that. Nick Olexa with Storyfi. Thank you for being on here. Huge fan of what you guys are doing. I know we're going to be both at NCUSO, doing a interesting thing. So it's Shirley as well, right? Well, and I say we, it's always you, Shirley. But we had attempted a news Channel 34 News QSO with John Burgundy last year. So we're going to be doing that again. I know you're going to be covering the event. I love the fact that NCUSO is supporting a QSO to do the video stuff. I love us eating our own cooking. That's so important. Love the work you guys are doing. If a credit union, if a QSO, if somebody in the movement was like, I like what I hear, and I need some help, or I want to pick their brain on what I should do, where would they go?
They can email us at hello@storyfi, STORYFI.com, or just go to storyfi.com and click contact. Those are the best ways to get a hold of us.
Love
But,
it.
Honestly, reach out, even if it's a question or you don't know where to start. We have worked with hundreds of credit unions as Storyfi and thousands of credit unions in a greater media sense, and we have a lot of strategies on how to get started if you don't know how.
Love it. Well, I'm telling you, 2026 is going to be your year. This is going to be a big one for you guys. I'm really excited to see it. Folks, share this out with somebody that needs to hear it. We all suffer from a crisis of awareness in this space. So spread the word. And thank you once again to all of our sponsors, certainly Bank Social for sponsoring the podcast, but Pure IT, Capstone Strategic, NCUI Sal, Connective, Defense Storm. And thank you, Shirley.
Thank you
For being my co-host with the most here at CU Spotlight. And folks, we will see you on the flip side.
And thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.